Right, I'm alive. Welcome all back to Daz TV. I'm delighted today to be joined by Keith Plunkett, one of the hosts from the LFC Daytrippers. Every time I was just saying to Keith off here there, I go onto YouTube and the LFC Daytrippers content comes up. Keith's always a big part of it and hosting a lot of shows. So fair play to Keith, putting a lot of time and effort into it. So Keith, how did you first get involved in the LFC Daytrippers, and tell us a little bit more, obviously for people that are going to be tuning in, if not now, later on at some stage. What exactly is the LFC Daytrippers?
Yeah, the LFC Daytrippers, Darren, it's been going on for a good few years now. It was set up by a few of the lads just from going to games. A few of the lads that set it up, Andy Young and Phil Casey and Steve O'Daly, like they decided to just put their own content out and their experience of it. And the Daytrippers was always a bit different because it was sort of, Irish fans going over, giving an Irish and a Dublin perspective as well. On supporting Liverpool from across the water, and it grew from there. It was a once a week show, a podcast that was brought out. It was a bit wacky, a bit fun. They didn't take it too seriously. Good humour, didn't take it too seriously, but it was good content. And I was listening to it from sort of day one, and I was a big fan of it. And how I got involved, I was my young lad was in a football team academy, and he was playing away, and one of the head coach there was a chap called Gar Breen, and Gar is one of the Daytrippers. And I was chatting to Gar, and it was one of them. It was all because it was all audio. It wasn't YouTube, so it was all audio. So I didn't know the face, and I knew the voice. And I said, I know your voice from somewhere. And he was telling me, and we just got friendly through that. And he asked me, would I go on sometime? And I didn't think my opinion on football was that good, or, can you talk about it, all that sort of stuff. But guys like, no, come on, it'll be good. So the lads had a little studio there up in Crumlin, and they invited me in and done a few shows and got to know some of the lads and really enjoyed it. But in the meantime, Gav, the main man over at the Daytrippers now, had sort of gone the YouTube route, and it started doing, week daily shows nearly during the week on top of the podcast. So it was nearly like the main podcast was running on a Monday, and then Gav was doing YouTube shows, but it started off really small. So he was looking for someone to sort of get involved with him doing that, to give him a dig out. And I said, I'd do that if he was stuck. And we just sort of went from there, and it was easy because one of the criticisms is, you all have the same opinions and all this, and you aren't controversial or shouty. That's because we sort of do think a lot the same way. And that's why I suppose when you go into a group like that, it helps, you know what I mean? If you're not of the same opinion, it probably doesn't work out, So it just helped that I shared a lot of the views and opinions of the lads that were involved in it, and it just went from there. And with the YouTube stuff going, it was it sort of blew up in the last couple of years. Gav really pushed it in the last year to push the YouTube subscriptions up, putting out really, really good content. And we had yourself on a few times as well, Darren. And it's just getting that voice, and it was, like I said, a predominantly Dublin Irish pod, but it's grown since then. We have contributors now in the UK. We've a contributor over in America. We've
fantastic, yeah.
We're just trying to get the views of fans in, and fans is still sticking to the ethos of having a bit of crack, but we're taking it more serious as well. So it's just, I personally, I'm biased, you know what I mean? But I think it's some of the best content out there, because it's like, we say this all the time, when you watch a show on the Daytrippers, it'd be like sitting in the pub or going to the match, and talking to your mates. And that's what we try to get across. We're not trying to be, too fancy. We're not trying to be too, we know this, we're better than you. We don't run down an opinion, that sort of stuff. Some people can do that thing. We're not doing that. We're just trying to have chats.
It's very open-minded from a neutral point of view, watching the Daytrippers, and obviously I had no affiliation with it, and I'd seen a lot of Dublin lads and Irish lads thought, yes, the lads know what they're talking about, very good. And you did say something there about being controversial. There's no point just being controversial for the sake of it. Like, you're controversial when you need to be, and it's like, from what I see, sometimes it is controversial on it now. Maybe it wasn't at the start, where they're saying a while ago, Shawnee and Gray's different views and something with a bit of humour. I thought, this is kicking out. I think I left a comment, and it was great to look at. But obviously the lads are coming from a good place, and it's their view and their opinion. They're sticking to that. They're not budging on it, and rightly so. And I think I've learned so much even from watching the Daytrippers, even some of the point of views. And I thought, geez, I never thought of that. That's actually a very good point. And when I'd be kind of getting sucked into a bit of negativity, yourself or Shawnee or Grays or Gavin bring up a good point, and you say that's yeah. And there was one of the other lads on, I can't think of his name, was talking about FSG, and he was talking about the revenue and 550 something million. He wasn't on with you, it was a separate one. And he was bringing up good points about FSG with the revenue they've earned and what they've done. And it's made me even think a little bit, be more open-minded and realistic about things, you know. So it's very educational to some people too. And you bring up a lot of great points, but a lot of facts as well. And it is that kind of someone you'd meet at a pub or on a bus, you're talking about football, you know, but someone that knows what they're talking about, and you can tell he's half because he's had knowledge and experience and he's backing up the facts. It's not just ranting and sprouting about something, man. It's just complete nonsense. You know what I mean? Big shout out there, Ali A, big up Daz and Keith. Cheers, pal.
Cheers, nice one, Ali A. But the thing, Darren, about it is it's you know, you look on social media these days and you've got these troll accounts and these faceless accounts, and, you know, they're hiding behind a fake name and a fake avatar, and they feel they can say what they want, you know, and they can go unchallenged, you know. But when you're doing, you know, you give your opinion on something, you have to be able to stand over that, and you have to be able to be flexible as well. Do you know what I mean? There's no point in me saying, oh, Dejan Lovren, hate him, get him out of the club. Dejan Lovren could have had some great games then. And then you're refusing to acknowledge Dejan Lovren. You know what I mean? You have to be able to be objective, but without constantly saying, oh, he's great, he's this, he's that. You know what I mean? So there has to be that. You can't be too stuck in your opinions. You have to be able to be flexible and to be, you know, admit you're wrong from time to time. Because look, I'm no expert. None of the Daytrippers lads are experts. We're not financial experts. We don't run football clubs. You know what I mean? We're just fans that have opinions and like to talk about our opinions. Do you know what I mean? So it's just one of them things.
Yeah, no, it's very good, as I said. And look, big up to all over there. There's obviously doing good work as well for that young girl, Sienna, about getting treatment and that. So that was really good to see. I've seen he's a bit of clothing range and stuff. So hopefully it's onwards and upward phase. And he's getting great recognition, but as well, he's very community based and getting out the stuff there that really matters and helps the people. Do you know what I mean? So that's great to see all that as well. So Keith, that's great. Bit of a good brief on the LFC Daytrippers. How did you become a Liverpool fan, and where did all that start? And was there some family roots there? There was what's your story to actually becoming a fan of the great Liverpool Football Club that now are on all the time debating and discussing?
Yeah, well, look, Daz, I watched your show with Shawnee a few weeks ago, and you'd said that, you know, you weren't maybe from a Liverpool family.
Yeah.
I am. My man, dad, Liverpool nuts, you know what I mean? Like my dad especially is a huge Liverpool fan and has been since the 70s when he was a kid, and it just gets ingrained in you. So when I was born, I don't want to give away my age, but, you know, born in 1980, do the maths. You know, I was born in 1980, so I was a child in the 80s. And my dad was just a huge Liverpool fan. And we were sort of, you know, wearing Liverpool kits from the smallest age, you know, when they weren't as readily available as they are now. You know, like my dad would just go and source them. And we just loved Liverpool, loved them. And my ma was the exact same, you know, but they went... they were at Liverpool matches before I was born, you know, the both of them going over. So they really... you know, loved me ma's family as well. We're all Liverpool fans. So it's just the way we are brought up. And you know yourself, Darren, being from Dublin, there's Liverpool, there's Manchester United, there's a few other clubs, there's a few other teams that you can support. And it was Liverpool in my house all the way. I've two younger sisters and a younger brother, and like my younger sisters are militant Liverpool fans, and one of them is married to a Manchester United fan, and he's a big mouthy Man U fan, and the stick she gives him, you should see this. He'd make a reality TV show about them, you know what I mean? But it's just the way we are, and it's just the family, you know, the family ties that sort of bind you to it. And look, Liverpool in the 80s were hoovering up titles and European Cups, so it was easy to sort of get on board. But I was only a young lad at that stage, you know. Like my earliest memories of football, you'd be going back to maybe 86. The cup final sort of in 86 would be one that I would remember, and then the World Cup around. All that's my earliest sort of memories. And my dad as well, he would have had a load of books and all in the house and programs and things like that. So I was reading about football from a very young age. Don't mean to sound like an arsehole. I was reading about football, but I developed this sort of love about football from a lot of books as well, because back then, you know, the matches weren't on the telly a lot. Do you know what I mean? You'd see bits and pieces, but it wasn't like it is today where it's wall-to-wall football. You know, that can just be so... I think it's very off-putting, personally, the overkill with football now. Could be controversial, but genuinely I think it can be overkill. But back then it wasn't. So my dad had a lot of books, you know, about world football, about European teams, about South American teams, and I just loved all that. I hoovered all that stuff up. So I was huge into football. But with that, my dad would be very much, he'd get in his horrors if Liverpool lost, right? And but again, back then they didn't lose very often. He'd get in his horrors, and then you get too stubborn and you'd react and all that sort of thing. So I had a period then of being a sports fan. Do you know what I mean? In my early teens, I'm like, no, and it was just to annoy me dad, but I was never a sports fan, and it was just one of these things that, you know, you say in the heat of the moment when you're 10, 11 or whatever. But what happened then was the football team we played for, the coach was a sports fan, and he lived in the same flats complex that I did. And he started sending me up jerseys and programs and all this. And this was like going back 30 years ago. And it's funny, like I moved out of the flats 20 odd years ago, but last year when the lockdown was on, there was talk, there was all this balcony bingos thing going on around the area, and it became global, get all viral and all that. And there was talk that Liverpool were going to play City after we won the league. So the first game back, the Guard of Honor and all that, there was this talk, you know, that Sky were going to put a big giant screen in the flats, going to pay for this thing, huge whopper screen. Yeah. And they were going to do that, and everyone was going to go over and watch the Liverpool getting the title and all that. And I couldn't go because I had to ask me ma. I says, Ma, does this person still live in the flats that thinks I'm a sports fan? She says, oh no, they moved out about 15 years ago. I was like, oof, nice one. Because to this day, he'd see me and he'd be talking about sports, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
How do I tell him I don't? I didn't
have a clue. But it was never one of them things. And the reason I bring that up is, you know, when you support a team, I could understand me dad getting in his horrors on a loss then, because then I would be the exact same. And it was something that we sort of changed about 10 years ago. I was like, it's not worth it. You know, Liverpool lose on a Saturday morning, and you know yourself, as we're going through the bleeding, not the Hodgson, the Julia era, the Evans era. You know, there was a lot of losses then. You know, this wasn't the 80s, the steamrolling wins. This was defeats.
The 90s were pretty bleak enough, weren't they? The 90s from 1990 up, like that whole start of the Premier League era in 92, and we weren't as ruthless or as cutthroat to say, let's like what United were, you know. And I know that was a lot of what happened with this whole Super League, whether a lot of us obviously disagree with that, and rightly so, but I mean, the whole idea was if one club's going to go, we're all going to want to get a piece of this. And obviously the Premier League then didn't like what they'd done and others happening to them, and then Sky jumped on. There was a lot of it. So look, that's obviously a different subject, but it's just mad how controversial that is, and that if you actually look at the facts of it, why some people, why clubs did move on, but they what they made it aims of really was not consulting or with fans and with CEOs and stuff like that. It seems like a right mess, you know what I mean?
Because I think they could have forced that. I think that Super League could have happened if they'd have approached it different, if they would have consulted, and if they would have sort of slowly brought it in. Instead, it got dropped on a Sunday night. We were doing a show on the Sunday night, and this news dropped, and we finished at like 11:15, and we're like, we have to go back on. We had to go back on and do another show because this is at that blown up, because it just got dropped. Do you know what I mean? There was rumours of it happening and all that, but it just got bombshell dropped, and it was just a disaster, you know.
Yeah, and it was always going to be, once news like that breaks and there's not more people than you know to find out about it. And they didn't really come forward, did they?
Exactly.
So obviously, Keith, you were talking there the 90s, and that was some bad games, a lot of defeats, and even under the Houllier and Hodgson and that. I'm going to ask you two questions. Your worst game you've ever witnessed, whether that's Liverpool or not, and your best game you ever witnessed, whether you were at, whether it was just at home watching it or out with the lads or some story behind you know. And I know that it might be an easy one for you, it might not be, because I know myself as part of Liverpool, there's been a lot of horrendous defeats, and we're the team, the club really, that has won everything and lost everything, isn't it? So,
indeed.
What would be your worst and your best? We'll start with the worst.
I mean, from a personal being at a match, I was at a game, right? no one will remember this game, right? It was at Anfield years ago. It was under the Houllier era. We played Fulham, and it was absolute dog shit. It was a 0-0 draw, and it was the most boring, tedious game of football I'd seen live. Now, there's been worse games than this. We've been beaten, we've been hammered. But from being at the match, it was cold, it was miserable. Liverpool were atrocious. And this was peak Houllier era. And you remember the Houllier era. Houllier brought a lot of good to Liverpool, but he played some awful football as well. You know, he played some awful football. And that one sticks out as a game I'd been at. That was terrible. But, you know, looking at like there was some horrendous games. The Real Madrid final in Kiev was an absolute, to lose the Champions League final the way we lost that Champions League final. You know, the whole game, you start off bright enough, and then to lose Salah so cynically the way we did was a blow. And then for what happens to Karius, and look, people getting on Karius's back, a keeper can make mistakes. To do it at that level, to do it at that match, we've seen Jerzy Dudek against Manchester United let in 2 stinkers against Diego Forlan, and he never recovered from that until Istanbul. A keeper has a bad moment, and they never come back. So from watching the games, it was heartbreaking watching that Real Madrid game. But like I said, the worst one I was at was a Liverpool Fulham. It was awful. There was loads back in that Houllier year I remember being at, and just, you know, the football wasn't pretty. They were a good team. You know, they were a good team. You look at the players in there, you had Heskey and Owen up front, Gerrard, Murphy, Haman, McAllister, you know, some really, really good players. But when even if you think of that midfield, Gerrard, Haman, McAllister and Murphy, you're looking at Gerrard and Murphy maybe on a wing each. Not exciting. You know what I mean? So you can tell already that you're looking at a stodgy team.
Not a lot of creativity either, more grit.
Exactly. Tall. They're all, you know, the exception of Danny Murphy. You're looking at Haman, Gerrard, McAllister all over 6 foot, and then you'd Sammy at the back and Honcho. You know, they were a big physical team, but it just, you know, if it didn't click early in those games, it was like stinker.
About it. Yeah, exactly. It was, and I remember a lot of them early 2000s. Obviously, it's very young then, but it's a lot of great games and a lot of bad games. And what would be your best memory, whether you were at it again, as I said, live, or just something you've experienced from watching it out in the pub or at home?
Yeah, the 2 best, and I wasn't at them. The 2 best are the 2 obvious ones. You know, Istanbul. You know, 5. I was in Dublin City. I was in a bar, Fitzsimons and Temple Bar. And,
3 floors of fun.
Yeah, we were in there, right, and we went in at about 4 o'clock, finished work, boom, straight in. Me and all my mates, me missus, loads of us in there, and it was jammed. It was wall to wall with Liverpool, and one AC Milan fan was in there in a jersey. He was a foreign lad. He was in there. He wasn't with us, like, he was just in the bar, like, but it was wall to wall Liverpool, and I'll never forget. We're in there, we're excited. The game starts. 1-0 down. Then 2-0 down, 3-0 down, and we're getting played off the park. Like, it's not even close. It was an absolute massacre. And people always say, you know, the fans were cheering. The atmosphere actually in that bar was, during the first half, it was a nightmare. But at half time, people were just like, resigned to losing, but saying, look, get a goal back. Let's just get a goal back. Let's not get beaten 6 or 7-0, because we were on route to getting an absolute spanking in a Champions League final. And then this little AC Milan fan was giving it loads, right? He was going around to everyone, and it was a bit foolish of him, because a few people looked like they were, you know, pissed off and could have maybe thrown him a dig. But the game goes on, and, you know, we don't have to, you know, we know what happened. 7 minutes, Liverpool are bang, bang, bang. It's back in it. You knew how it was going to go. There's like a destiny thing with these sort of things, and we'll come on to that in a sec with the other game. But you just feel a momentum in a game swinging, and we see the Dudek save from Shevchenko at the end of extra time, and you just knew, you know, the name was on the cup. And when you look at that AC Milan team, it's one of the best teams ever assembled. Do you know what I mean? You look at that from start to finish, like,
consistently, it was, as well, over a number of years, experienced and had the know-how.
you look at the team, like, and it was, they were ruthless. The Kaká, Crespo, Shevchenko, like some of the most ruthless players in Europe at the time. And
Maldini,
it just didn't look, there was
Cafu.
any, Stam, excellent player, Pirlo, Seedorf, Nesta, like this was a absolutely ridiculous team, and the fact that we got back, it was just, it belied belief. But it's something that Liverpool have always done, Darren, and it's something that even when we talked about the Hula year, if we look at the Arsenal Cup final in 01, look at the Alaves Cup final, you know, Liverpool never do things the easy way, and it's a cliche to say that, and people of other teams, fans of other teams, are probably like, he's go on about. No, they never do it the easy way, and they always do it in a way that makes it feel better. You know, we've the lowest of lows, as I said about Real Madrid beating us in Kiev, the lowest of lows, but the highest of highs, and that's the payoff, you know. So the best game I've ever seen was the Barcelona game, and I wasn't at it. I'm not claiming to have been at it. I've been to some good games, but nothing that will stand out. Do you know what I mean? Like nothing that was remotely memorable that you'd say, oh, I was at that one, Been to some good games, some easy Liverpool wins and all that, but no, this was just like we said about the Milan game there. Liverpool go and get that one goal, the foursome, a nice time to get it, and we're on top, right? And our Barca are getting chances, but we're on top. But we need to do it all in the second half, and then Gini comes in to get the goal, and it's similar to Istanbul. You know, the timing of goals is crucial, and to get them so close. So the second and third, bang, bang. Took the wind out of Barcelona. They were on the back of losing the lead as well the year before in the Champions League. So they're brittle.
Roma,
they're brittle. They know not again, you know. So you knew the psyche was gone. And then to get the fourth one, like the way they got the fourth, everything about it. Again, it's got iconic moments. Do you know what I mean? It's got Gini's goals. It's got the corner taken quickly, Origi, all that stuff. The celebrations at the end. But you still knew there was a job to be done. And that brings us on to the final in Madrid. And look, routine final. Split loyalties for me playing Spurs with me being a Spurs fan as well. But it was one of them that... you know, we got the early goal and Spurs don't huffed and puffed, but didn't really do. I wasn't actually worried about it. You know what I mean? It was nice to get that second goal at the end. It just gave us an extra thing to celebrate, the cheer. But it was one, you got through that semi-final and you just knew everything about it. You knew Spurs had sort of, Liverpool had been there and had been in the European finals and had been in the Europa League as well under Klopp. This group of players, like, so you knew they got the finals and they knew what it was like. Spurs got past Ajax that year and it was like, that was their final. Even though we'd sort of come through the gauntlet against Barcelona, you knew that was Spurs' final. And I think they showed a naivety there as well that, you know, that was good enough getting to the final, whereas Liverpool had a point to prove. There was the rhetoric going out that Klopp gets the finals and doesn't win them. You know, had to put that to bed. So that Barcelona game is just the best I've ever seen. Another shout was the Chelsea semi-final in 2005. That was horrendous. But the end of it was brilliant. You know, Good Johnson missing at the end. My wife we were watching it and she had to go out. And 89 minutes or something, she got up and went, says, oh, mate, I can't watch this, and had to leave. Like, so again, the low lows, but I'd take the lows for the highs that we get.
Yeah, and the highs have always been extraordinary. We've done it. We've, like, the highs we've had. Like, I remember particularly even most recent, that Barcelona game. And we had them rattled. Like, our lads were like, it was like we had 30, 40 players playing against Barca that night. We just soaked them up, the momentum, the atmosphere. And there's a part of you thinking, this is unbelievable. Like, if I could take this bunch of players now going forward, I'd take them. You're not even thinking of signings or anyone not having a good game. It was just a pure, genuine, raw feeling you got of just, you were unbelievable. There was tears of joy, of everything. And it was the type of game that you're looking at and thinking, wow, you know, just that's unbelievable how the lads turned around. But there was still a job to do. There was 10 minutes to go. Then it was 8. Then Messi's the ball. He's running at players. Then they're trying to look for a penalty. And that putting everything into the box. And it's just one of those games you're thinking, don't give it away now. You know what I mean? And then at the end, to finally win it, we seen the tears, Milner, Wijnaldum, Klopp. Did you ever walk along in front of the cop? It was unbelievable. I remember that night. I was in this room watching it, and it was unreal. What a night! I mean, it was one of those games I would have loved to be at. You regret obviously not going out for it, but amazing game. And probably
It's true. It is true. You regret not being at that game, but even still, the feeling you get even from watching that on and there's not many games that can get you like that. You know what I mean? Like you watched it in your house, we watched it in my house, and you still get the feels. Do you know what I mean? You're still looking at it, and the emotion is flowing through you, and it was just, you know, again, iconic. You know what I mean? It was just brilliant to see. It was brilliant to witness.
Shout out there to Jersey Boy. Big up to Jersey Boys a lot with mine, LFC Domination. James, Milliesta, Milner. Big up to as a key great collaboration. And Ali A back on. Keith, how many Liverpool games have you been to? Probably too many this stage.
You know, it's yourself there, and it's getting over to Liverpool. It's not. You do your best to get over and try to get to a few games, but it's not the cheapest, the easiest to get over. Now, luckily there was connections with tickets and all that for a few years. Like my dad gets over it quite a bit, actually. He goes over a fair bit. He has friends and all over there. You get a ticket and get in, but you get over it as much as you can. You'd wish. Do you know what I do? Hey, I hate people moaning about the price of going to the game, because look, I'm not moaning about it there. No, I don't like to do that, because you go and you enjoy it, and you know we can't all get there all the time, and we do see, and I'm sure you see this yourself. It's, you know, people come, and a lot of people begrudge foreign fans coming in, and I'm not talking about the Irish here. I'm talking about other parts of the world that really get over once every few years. And they're spending the money in the club shop, and they're taking all the photos, and you know the excitement of that. I love to see that when I'm there. You know, I love to see the fans that are getting that experience, because there's tiers, I think, of fans. So there's the regular match goers that go to all the games, the season ticket holders, and they're going all the time. And
take it for granted nearly,
and that's not a dig at them. You know what I mean? But it's like with anything. If you do it all the time, you take it for granted. Then you have the sort of Irish fans that'll go over, and look, you know yourself, and you can jump on the boat, you can get the plane over half an hour. You know, it's quicker for me to go to Liverpool. I was in Cork there last week, and it took us 3 hours, 2.5 hours to go down. It takes a half an hour to get to Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? So you can get over. So the Irish fans, you get over a few times a season to watch the games. And then you've got the fans that are coming from all, you know, Australia, America, Asia, all these types of places that it's not as easy to get, and they really sort of lap it up. So look, it's fans come from everywhere. You try and get out to as many as you can. Some years you get to more, and other years you get to less, you know, depending on your family circumstances.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, we're a world club as well, and that we have to accept. Like it's global now, and a lot of the Premier League clubs, especially the big, I wouldn't even say the big six, a lot of them, it's global, and it's great to see, because that's financially the club great, and for fans, and we all are fans, we're all one, and I know some get to go more than others, and some don't. But there's games where I'd love to go to more of, but you have to be realistic as well. You have a job here, you have commitment, you have other things on, and then it's getting tickets, and then
that's the key. That's the key. I mean, if Anfield had a capacity of 250,000, it'd still be a nightmare to try and get tickets. You know what I mean? So it's just that's the price you pay, isn't it, of being a global club?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely, and it's great, I suppose, as well. Yeah. Your thoughts, Keith, on the season just finished? So, being a mad Premier League season, no fans. The stages was a couple of thousand here and there, didn't last long. Strangest Premier League season I've ever witnessed or endured. It was just mad, and probably expected. But I have to say as well, I did hate it. And with 5 games to go, I'd given up on us. We hadn't won 5 consecutive games all season. I didn't think it was going to happen the last 5. And I wasn't that I was being negative. I was being realistic. But again, Liverpool proved us wrong, and it was great to be. And they really came out with some resilience. They were compact, they were composed for the last 5 games, very professional. And again, epitomised that Jurgen Klopp style: never give up, keep fighting, don't give up on anything. And they didn't. And I mean, Alisson's 95th minute header against West Brom all but proved that. But there was still, again, and this goes back to Liverpool, the iconic moment, still a job to do. You know, we only away, tough game, Dade fans. Palace at home, Hodgson's last game. It was easy in the end, but that was probably the once I can remember us actually doing it the easy way. You know, it wasn't that bad of a finish. But what's your thoughts on the season just gone?
I absolutely hated it, Darren. Hated. I'm hoping the next season will be fans in the ground, because look, Liverpool, we spoke about it, and we can eulogise about the fans and the experience, and you know, the highs and the lows and all that sort of stuff. But watching the football without the fans, there's no intensity in it. And Liverpool, before Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool are a passionate fan base. We maybe go over the top about that. I don't think so, but other people think we can go over the top about it. We're an emotional team. We're an emotional fan base. We run on the fans. The Anfield European Nights 12th man, that all precedes Klopp. You know what I mean? It's not all about Klopp. But then you throw Jurgen Klopp into the mix, and it's just all emotion, you know, and adrenaline and all that stuff. And to lose that, we won the league. We absolutely steamrolled that league the year we won it. And then the pandemic happened, and it was just about getting over the line. And you just wanted the games to happen to get over the line. And it was like, right, it's only a few games. We'll do that. Next season will be okay. And next season comes along, and we had the perfect storm of no fans, VAR, and it was just a disaster. Do you know what I mean? We had injuries. We had the worst thing that could have happened, you know, the worst season that you could imagine. And it just all unfolded, you know, without the fans there, without Liverpool, to lose Van Dijk, to lose Gomez, you're losing Thiago to a 3-month injury or whatever, Jota lose, you know, every single thing that could have gone wrong went wrong, even down to the likes of Tsimikas, who's brought in and gets a lot of stick. Or sell him. He gets brought in to relieve Andy Robertson, because he's not going to play ahead of him, but it was to take the pressure off him. He gets COVID, he gets injured. Do you know what I mean? Like, so even our reserve players were getting no joy at all. So it was a horrific season. But you're right, the end of it, the moment of the season is Alisson's header, and that's the moment of the season, not the moment of Liverpool. That is, do you know, and people don't like that, you know what I mean? But they just have to accept it, because the keeper to come up, look at that. We needed to win the games. We needed to stay in touch, because we weren't in the top 4. We needed to get these. We were getting over the line. And then to get a 95th minute winner against Allardyce's West Brom, it was... And the header itself was an absolutely brilliant header. Do you know what I mean? This wasn't a keeper just being awkward and smacking off his forehead and going in. Like, he's arching the thing over to the far post. It was ridiculous. One of the best headers you'll ever see. So for me, like, that was out of this world. And then, as you say, that positioned us. It's like, right, now you have to do this. And it was easy in the end, because there's a narrative around Burnley away that's tricky. But we've won there, I think, the last 4 years. There's a narrative that Hodgson, his last game against Liverpool, Palace, Gerrard's last home game was against Palace, and we blew that, you know. And there's all these little stories and little things that people are trying to make out that, you know, it kind of happened. And as fans, I suppose, some people will just say, no, this is easy, and others will be like, oh no, this is, you know, hiding behind the sofa, and I can't watch this. But the reality is, Palace are in a great team, Burnley are in a great team, Liverpool, while we had got our issues, we're a good team, and we had players like Thiago coming in. The end of the season, Thiago was sensational. He really settled into the Premier League. He really settled into Liverpool, and it was just one of them. Everything came right for us at the end, and we got over the line, and we deserved that, and we got third. We didn't scrape fourth, we got third. And you know, to look at the season now, to look back at it, and you can see, like, Manchester United having that great season, challenging Man City. They only finished about 5 points ahead of us. Do you know what I mean? Or 7, whatever. 5, was it?
5 points, that's only a win and 2 draws more. You know what I mean? And another point on that as well is we finished less points behind Man City this season than they did over us last season, and they were only missing Laporte, you know, and we had the issues we've had. Like you even mentioned there, Thiago comes in, brilliant, blows the passing range in the whole Premier League history. Second half against Chelsea, against Everton, comes in really, really good. VAR really fucked us over in that game. I mean, Henderson's last minute goal, two challenges in it, no red cards, Van Dijk's out there for the season. There's so many things happening in that game, and then he's out there for 3 months, and he comes back. We're away at Newcastle, he hits the bar, he's a good game, but then he finds it hard to get the speed of things. And this season, like, it was awful, really awful. But for us to finish where we finished, it was obviously proud, and it felt like winning something we really did. And I know people don't want to hear that, but the reality is, I was settling for us to get 5th or 6th, because I can't see, and I'm still finding it hard to accept that we were the 3rd best team in the league last season. Now, it's mad to think that, but The lads
we
dug in
said,
deep.
yeah, we said on our show that we think it's one of Klopp's best achievements to get into the three under the circumstances. Now, Liverpool shouldn't be aiming to get into third, but you have to take the circumstances in. Alisson lost his father tragically. Klopp lost his mother. Couldn't go back. None of them could go back to grieve.
It was awful.
They, in fact, had to grieve publicly. Jurgen Klopp, especially, because I think it broke about Klopp's mother around the Burnley game where we lost our home record. It was around that time, I think, that the rumour started about Klopp's mother dying. And the press were just hammering him. And it looked like he threw in the towel. Fulham at home. It looked like he made so many changes to the team. And it just looked like we jacked it in. And for him, that's not a slight on Klopp, because, the emotion that he was going through. Look, any of us can lose a parent or a loved one. And to be away from home and not be there and not to be able to grieve properly for it. It takes a toll on everyone. So there's so many factors, but to get in there, I think it was a great achievement by Klopp in the end.
Yeah, and even as you said, with no fans there as well, because normally when the fans are at Anfield, they do put on some solidarity or some show, whether it's mosaics in the cup or something.
Exactly.
For when obviously someone's passed away. So he's a man relies heavily on emotion and on support and seeking help and would be there for anyone or any fan. Do you know what I mean? Any one of us. So for him not to have that, it was just the final straw, really. And I had no issues with that Fulham game with making so many changes, because I think there was a lot of times this season where our attitude just stank. It wasn't right, and lads needed to be dropped, and to say, well, look at this. There's a summer coming up. We've a man here that's made so many careers for a lot of these players as well. Klopp has played a big part. And now, obviously, the dues to them as well. They went and do what they could do. But only for Klopp, I mean, some of these players, like, they owe him more than what he owes them.
Look at Gini Wijnaldum. Gini comes in from a relegated team, and he's a number 10 and a creative type of player. And Klopp transformed them. And whether Gini plays for the Netherlands in an advanced role, like more creative, Liverpool he plays to instruction, and he's gone to PSG now, and we'll see what Klopp will have made him defensively sounder, made him more tactically aware, and everything else. He improves everybody, and that's from players to staff to everybody. Improves everyone.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. Shout out there, Stephen Somerville Irish. What's happening, lads? And big up Keith as well. Laser as well. LFC, yes, Daz. Big up you guys. Yeah, thanks for people dropping in the comments on an early glorious Saturday morning. Yeah. Me and Keith reporting from Dublin. Great, tomorrow's be the hottest day of the year as well. So, Keith, won't keep you too much longer. Jordan Henderson last night, news broke, won the MBE award. Unbelievable, deservedly so. 10 years at Liverpool this week. His development has been unbelievable. I remember the first couple of years, a lot of the fan base slaughtered him, and he took the captaincy over of Gerrard, a club legend, if not the greatest, definitely the second best player to ever represent the club. Carried us through so many in at least a decade of his career. Unbelievable player, Gerrard, world class. Mr. Liverpool. When the going got tough, we always had Gerrard, and you knew things were always quick around the corner to turn. We obviously, Gerrard goes, Henderson's captain. He comes in at a very, to be honest with you, a bit of a bleak time. Things were uncertain. I didn't know where we were going. It was going to go one way or another, but we always had hope in our heart, a bit like the anthem. And Henderson, I mean, of late, as I said, he's won it all, or there's now all the big ones, the major ones. What's your take and your opinion, Keith, on Jordan Henderson and what he's done for Liverpool? And I mean, he's a club legend. And how much do you rate him?
Darren, I've very rarely seen a player as divisive as Jordan Henderson, and I cannot get my head around it. To me, you spoke about Steven Gerrard there, and you're wax lyrical about Steven Gerrard. Steven Gerrard is one of, if not the best player that's ever played for Liverpool. I think Jordan Henderson's a better captain than Steven Gerrard, right? I think the leadership, and that's controversial. I get lashed out for saying that. Jordan Henderson, there's a difference between, being a leader around everything and being a leader on the pitch. Steven Gerrard led by example and, picked games up by the scruff of the neck and got it done. Jordan Henderson micromanages everything with Liverpool, in the training ground, to new signings, to this, to that. With England, every manager that he's had waxes lyrical about him. Every player that's played with him speaks about him in the highest regards. Jordan Henderson, I think, is so underrated. I'm delighted from getting that MBE. I'm delighted that he's got his 10 years because it didn't start well. Do you know what I mean? He comes in under Kenny. He comes in under Kenny, and it was that mad summer where we're buying Charlie Adam, Stuart Downing to supply Andy Carroll. And Henderson was brought in with the thinking that he can play to the right-hand side of a midfield and his delivery will feed Carroll. It didn't work out, and we know Brendan tried to force him out to Fulham for Clint Dempsey, and that's a sliding doors moment, one of the biggest sliding doors moments in Liverpool's history, because if we'd have got Clint Dempsey, he'd have been out the door 2 years later. I'd say he'd be out the gap like a light. Whereas Henderson went from strength to strength, and that's a testament to Henderson. It's a testament to his mentality, because to take these blows all the time, you have to be strong. Do you know what I mean? You can't be a wallflower like Stuart Downing, who I mentioned there. We done a pod on our channel a while ago, and talking about the worst Liverpool signing of all time, and everyone thought we were gonna. I wasn't on the show, but everyone thought the lads were gonna go big in on Naby Keita for the money. But one of the chaps, Phil, said Stuart Downing is the worst signing Liverpool ever made, because he just didn't have the mentality, and he was afraid to make a mistake, and that can happen at Liverpool. And there was a fear of that happening with Henderson, but it didn't, because he's made a better stuff than that. And we spoke about iconic moments, you know, the Origi scored in the from the corner, the quick corner, blah blah, Origi against Everton. Jordan Henderson, when we won the European Cup, and he cries in the arms of his father, to me is one of the most iconic things I've seen in a few years in Liverpool, because it was raw emotion, and it was real, and it was a culmination of hard work. And you see the stuff that the videos the club released this week, you know, it is that. And you can see the bond there, and you know, it wasn't fake. It wasn't anything other than pure emotion that he got to the top of that table, and he got over the line. He's captained Liverpool to a Champions League, but he didn't rest on that. And the next season we go again, and that shows the mentality of Jordan Henderson. It wasn't good enough to just win one and say, look, not many captains of Liverpool have lifted the European Cup. I'm joining Gerrard, Souness, Thompson, Emlyn Hughes. He went and got the Premier League, which is the holy grail, which was the one we all wanted. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Whether you prefer the Champions League or the Premier League, personally, I prefer the Champions League. But
yeah, me too. Yeah,
I'll always do, and that's a Liverpool thing as well. I think there's an affiliation with the European Cup and the Champions League.
The held in higher regard. It's champions of Europe or champions of England. Like, I mean, that alone to me
exactly
says it all. You know,
it was just a monkey off the back, really, wasn't it? Of getting it, and Henderson was key. And people think that, you know, he doesn't. He's not good. If you look at a lot of people pick that starting Liverpool team for next season, every one of them Henderson gets dropped, and it's like, lads, he's not getting dropped. Do you know what I mean? If we bring in a Florian Neuhaus who's getting mentioned there, we bring in a Florian Neuhaus, or we bring in anybody, they're going to have to walk to get into the team. They're not going to. It's not going to be a case of Thiago, Fabinho, and the new shiny thing. It's going to be Henderson and Diaz, and then you walk your way in. So I think even the Liverpool fans can underrate him and can underappreciate him, and I think England fans do the same. And I just don't understand it, because every manager and every teammate will tell you what you need to know about Jordan Henderson, and I just think he's top class.
He's every manager's dream. He's world class, and what even epitomizes him more and shows his strength, his character, and his passion and commitment, and all these great fancy words you can use, is that so many people put him down, and he keeps coming back. And I mean, the way I look at it is, he's been to 4 finals and won 2. Champions League final, loses, comes back and wins it. Premier League, I know it's not a final, but it was like a final last day of the season. 97 points, done nothing wrong. It was a perfect season. Lost that and come back the season after it and steamrolled that. And now, obviously, this season, he had a big part of contribution into us getting over the line. There's a lot of stories, whether you believe it or not, behind the scenes, how he was managing the players, and Matt Phillips and Reece Williams even coming in, how good he was. He could drop into centre back. Just the type of lad that he's every man's dream. That could not speak highly enough of his attitude, that determination, character he is. He gives her absolutely everything, but he does all the basics so well, and he keeps coming out smiling. He keeps coming out proving the doubters wrong. I mean, that takes a lot, and Gerrard never really had that. You know, Gerrard always had everybody on his side and things going for him.
Yeah.
There was once or twice where people did doubt him, and he come back and let his actions speak louder than words. And it's the same with Henderson, and he's doing it. And look, Henderson still has, I would say, another couple of seasons, if not 2, 3. I don't know, could be more left. We see everyone seeing the video footage today of it with the England training. He's having a sprint with Declan Rice. Declan Rice is 8, 9 years younger than him, and he wins it. So he's very fit, and he's a kind of James Milner type of player, but just a bit better in terms of technically and his leadership, and like he's so much responsibility, you know. But Jurgen Klopp has played a massive part in his development, and a part of him being a Liverpool legend. And if someone like Kenny Dalglish is coming out waxing lyrics about you and speaking how good you are, then there's something really right there. You know what I mean?
Every single manager that has him does. Every single manager will tell you. And you're right. One thing before we finish up on Henderson, and you touched on it there, you know, he'll drop in and do centre half. He sacrifices his game for the team every time, because when we're at our best, the year we won the league, the year we won the Champions League, Trent bombs on the right. Mo doesn't come back, so there's a gap there, and it's Henderson who fills that gap all the time. He allows Salah to stay up top, and he allows Trent to bomb on in support, and he does the covering. And people don't see that, and people don't appreciate that. You know, to give that, to know, to have the nous and the know-how to do that. People, for example, would go, if N'Golo Kante does something, he's flavour of the month at the moment, getting talked about for Ballon d'Ors and all, ridiculous. And he's a great player. He's a great player, but you know, people will see him in the centre of the park getting in and doing a tackle, and you know, stopping something, and it gets waxed about, which is great. He is a great player, but Henderson will do things like covering Trent while he goes on a run, will drop into centre back. This the ugly stuff you don't see, but it's equally as important, but it just doesn't get the recognition or the credit. I love him. Look, I talk about him all day. I think he's brilliant. I'm a huge fan of Jordan Henderson as a leader and a player.
Yeah, and it'd be great and interesting at the end of his career when he does put the medals on the table and has those iconic moments of prove how good he is, but a professional off the pitch and how he goes about his life. And sometimes we forget that, how he conducts himself. He's a real role model. You know, if you have a kid and they want to, everyone, there was an iconic thing went around on social media before where Carragher, Neville, bit of crack. No one wants to grow up to be a Gary Neville, but everyone wants to grow up to be a Jordan Henderson. I believe totally. I mean, what's there not to love about him? Okay, Keith, last question. Probably save the best to last. If I was a flip a coin, whether it's this or the Jordan Henderson saga, your current best world 11 at the moment. And look, for anyone listening, this is just Keith's views and opinion. There's no right or wrong, I suppose, too. It's a very tough one of all the great players that's out there at the moment in world football. There's probably going to be a mixture of youth and experience or what have you, or someone that you pick now mightn't be probably worthy of it, but soon to come will be. This is not easy, but starting from the keeper to your forward line, Keith, who is your best current world 11 players?
It's not easy, Darren, you're right. It's not easy,
very
but
tough.
I'm going to pick a lot of Liverpool players in this, and that's not because I'm being biased and a Liverpool fan. It's that I think we're one of the top clubs in Europe. You know, we've had an off season. But when I was thinking about this, like, so in goal, I don't think there's many better than Alisson in the world right now. Okay, you could throw a coin up. I don't think Ederson is better than him for a start. I think you're talking about Jan Oblak, and Jan Oblak is a different type of keeper. Right? Jan Oblak is plays in a defensive machine at Atletico Madrid. You know, he's a solid quality shot stopper, but is he sort of as good with the ball at his feet? Manuel Neuer is a great goalkeeper as well. Ter Stegen at Barcelona is a great keeper. You know, there's so many good keepers out there, but I honestly rank Alisson as the top, so he'd get in goal for me. I don't know, there'll be many arguments on that. There might be some controversial decisions coming up. The back four, right, with me Virgil van Dijk hat on. Virgil van Dijk is the best defender in the world. Virgil van Dijk is, in my opinion, the best defender that's ever played for Liverpool. Ahead of Alan Hansen, ahead of all the others, the great players. There's not many that I've seen like Virgil van Dijk, because he's as good a defender as those AC Milan boys we spoke about in 2005. And he's as good going out with the ball as any defender that we've ever seen as well, as an Alan Hansen. He's as good on the ball as any of them. He's got recovery pace. So people throw, he wouldn't have got in the Man United team with Vidic and Ferdinand. Well, to me, he's better than Vidic and Ferdinand at all of their strength. So Ferdinand was a ball player and a reader of the game and was quick. Well, Van Dijk does that. Right, Van Dijk is as good at that. And then he was as good at strong in the tackle as Vidic. You know, he's he has everything. So Van Dijk centre back for me. Trent and Robbo are the best fullbacks in world football. Because I was trying to think of this, and I was trying to not put too many Liverpool players into this, and I couldn't because it's hard because there's not many. You know, Ashraf Hakimi, who's going to PSG or Chelsea from Inter Milan, is an excellent right back. I wouldn't swap Trent for him. You get told about all the. That's an interesting team now. That's an interesting team because Marquinhos is my centre back as well. Marquinhos is my centre back because I want Liverpool fullbacks. I just think the talent at fullback in the world, I don't think is great at the moment. World football goes through cycles of these sort of things where you've got great centre backs. You go back to the Carragher, John Terry, the Ferdinand Vidic. There was a wealth of centre backs, and then over the last few years that sort of dried up. And I think, you know, fullbacks at the moment, there's not many that would get in. So I went for the Liverpool three boys, and I went for Marquinhos ahead of Ruben Dias. I think is excellent at Man City. Look, he's a brilliant player. Honourable mentions. We saw last night in Giorgio Chiellini, one of the greatest defenders of all time. I think he is absolutely brilliant. So an honourable mention for him. Sergio Ramos at the end of his career, a bastard, but look, he's an excellent player. He's about 100 goals in his career.
Winner.
Yeah, 100%. A winner if ever there was one. Yeah.
You don't get too many centre-backs that get goals and win as much consistently as him, and he has. He's been a machine.
He's done it all. Like, he's another one of the greatest of all time. And then players like Diego Godin as well was excellent over the years. But for me, Marquinhos is quick and the ball player. Marquinhos is brilliant. So he was my other centre-back in there. In the midfield... Excuse me. In midfield, I went for Thiago because to me, Thiago is, you know, he's what I like in a midfield player. You know, I like a ball player, but I even think Thiago is beyond that. Thiago manipulates a football better than anyone I've ever seen. Do you know what I mean? Like he hits the ball and he spins it and he slices it, and I've never seen anyone like him. I went to the new camp years ago. Myself and my wife went over to a game. Coldest experience I've ever had at a football match.
Right.
And Thiago was playing for Barcelona. He'd only broke into the team, and he was, you know, the videos you see on all the Spain thing where he crossing the ball to Rodri and keeping it and volleying it back. Him and Messi were doing this. I've never seen anything like it. So Messi's on one side of the pitch and he's hitting it over, and Thiago's turning around and trapping it on his neck and flicking it up and volleying it back. I was blown away. So I've always been a huge fan of Thiago. And on
class to hear.
On our show, myself and Shawnee, who we had on here, when Liverpool were linked with him, we were, you know, even before we were linked, we were saying this fella is the business. So he's always getting in my midfield. So Thiago's in there. Thiago's in there, and I've put Toni Kroos in there because I love Toni Kroos. I absolutely love Toni Kroos. And again, he's a footballer. Do you know what I mean? He's not quick, and Thiago's not quick. Toni Kroos is just a brain. Modric gets a lot of the credit and the praise at Real Madrid, and he won a Ballon d'Or because of Croatia getting to the World final and that, you know. But to me, Toni Kroos is the better player. Yeah, and Modric is a great player, but Kroos is so underrated in that. I just think he's absolutely exceptional. So Kroos is in there with Thiago, and then I've sort of torn. Like Kevin De Bruyne is brilliant. Is he in that sort of top echelon of midfield players? When you look at who else is out there, there's not that many. There's not many other players out there that you're looking and you're thinking, oh, well, this player is excellent. There's Barella at Inter Milan is doing great things. Barcelona don't really have the players. Bayern Munich, Leon Goretzka is a good player, but it is Kevin De Bruyne. It's Kevin De Bruyne for me as well. And he's just, the thing about De Bruyne is a big fella as well. And he's a tough guy. I know he got blatant creamed in that Champions League final and he got busted up in that, but he's a big fella and he can take a bit of hustle and bustle. Now I know there's no defensive solidity in that midfield. I don't care, because if I want to watch football, I want to watch football. I don't want to watch. I'm not going to dig out N'Golo Kante. I've done him already, but I don't want to. You don't want to see Casemiro in there
and grab a goal.
This is who you'd want to see. So I'm looking at Thiago, De Bruyne, and Toni Kroos in midfield. They're not quick, right? They're not quick, but Xavi and Iniesta and Busquets weren't quick, and they're the best midfield unit I've ever seen in my life. So, you know, you don't have to be quick. If you're smart and you're intelligent, you can let the ball do all the work. That old schoolboy football saying, let the ball do the work. So that's me midfield three. Up front, I've gone with Mo Salah because Mo Salah is an icon. Mo Salah is, we spoke about this on our show, he's the most underrated player in world football. He's the most underrated player in world football. He's scoring, what's he got? 3 golden boots in 4 years?
Yeah. He's 125, 26 goals, nearly 50 assists and 201 2 games, something like that, something ridiculous, where he's had a goal or an assist in every nearly game he's played in. And
he never gets the credit.
In number 9, you know, he's not that number 9 either.
He's doing that from the wide position. Now, obviously, Messi is in the team as well, and Messi is the best to ever play the game. I've never seen anything like Messi. People would say, oh, Maradona, Messi trumps everything, because people say, Messi never won international football. Well, Maradona only played, I think, 8 games in the European Cup. So, do you know what I mean? You have to balance these things out. He won a World Cup, but he only played in about 8 European Cup games in his career. So, you know, Messi has won, I think, 5 Champions Leagues, 4 or 5 Champions Leagues. So, you know, you weigh one against the other. People talk about Ronaldo. Ronaldo's a great player, but I'll hark back to what I enjoy about football. I don't enjoy seeing a sort of robotic Cristiano Ronaldo. And that's not a dig at him. His goal scoring record speaks for itself. It's you know, it's not as good. Messi's is better than him, I think, which people don't tend to maybe realise, but it's up there. What them two boys have done over the last 10, 15 years has been phenomenal. Like, you're talking, like, we talk about Salah, they're getting 20, 25 a season. These boys are getting 50 a season for the period there, and it was just, you know, it's ridiculous what they were doing. And I put Ronaldo, I didn't get Ronaldo in, so I went with Salah and Messi on the wings, rotating, wherever you want to go. And I went for Kylian Mbappe up front, because to me, Kylian Mbappe, people talk about Erling Haaland, people talk about as Kane, the next
Lewandowski, and
Lewandowski, there's a good one for you, Darren, right? Kane, people talk about Kane, 150 million for Harry Kane for his 20 odd goals, his 200 Premier League goals or whatever. Lewandowski's getting 40 a year for Bayern. Do you know what I mean? I know he's older, but Harry Kane brings an injury risk. You pay 150 million for Harry Kane. He misses games because he has dodgy ankles.
Yeah.
Lewandowski is as good as Harry Kane. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's an absolutely elite player, but he doesn't get that mentioned. But I went with Mbappe because Mbappe to me is the next one, right? And I know Liverpool get linked with him and that, and we can all dream that he comes to Liverpool. He probably doesn't come to Liverpool. Kylian Mbappe is a sensational footballer. He's the next Messi, in my opinion. In that he plays the game that excites me. So I spoke about going to the new camp and seeing Messi and Thiago hitting the ball. I've never experienced that. And have you been to a Barca game, Darren?
No, I've been to New Camp, never went to a Barca game, unfortunately. No, but I've heard some stories about them. But your experience?
I never experienced anything like at a game when Messi gets the ball. This was going back to maybe, it's nearly probably 10 years ago. So you're talking about sort of prime peak Barcelona. When Messi gets the ball, the wave just on the edge of your seat, and every time the ball goes near, and people are, whoa, they're sitting up, they're getting up, and I've never experienced that and like it every single time. It's unbelievable, and I think Mbappe is that sort of potentially that level. Haaland is a goal machine, but like Ronaldo, his play isn't sort of, you know, it doesn't excite me, and that's not to dig him out. It doesn't excite me. So my three up top would be Salah, would be Messi, and would be Mbappe. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that as well, Darren. You know, I'm not going to. People may disagree, and that's the beauty of it. But I don't have a defensive midfielder. I don't think I need one. Me defenders will sort all that out. I think you have them three boys in the middle supplying the bullets for Salah, Messi, and Mbappe. I think we're doing well. But there's a lot of players, and you know, as I said, we could have done this 15 years ago, let's say, around the time of Istanbul. when you look at the centre backs, and you'd have had maybe 20 centre backs in world football that you'd be tossing a coin about.
Yeah,
There's not
so
now.
many great ones. Yeah,
Midfield
no.
players, you know, the midfield for Liverpool and AC Milan at Istanbul, you know, Gerrard, Alonso, and then you the AC Milan boys. You know,
and
that's
even
in one game.
Even the fullbacks you've went for, Keith there and Trent and Robbo, they're emerging. Well, probably not emerging now because they've made it. They're the new type of fullback.
Yeah,
attacking,
exactly.
flair, intensity. Come back and do a really good defensively job, but it's not all about defending anymore. It's about getting forward, supporting midfielders, assists, and will pop in with goals, free kicks. Although, look, Trent is the better out of two, isn't he? Shooting, at getting goals and getting more assists. But Robertson probably that bit more secure defensively than
Robbo
Trent.
actually has more assists than
but
Trent.
has more assists, yeah, because he's playing, he's always available as well. And when you look at fullbacks now at the moment, and I'm not being biased, and some people might say different, but I don't see past Trent and Robbo in World 11 at the moment as fullback. They're the fullbacks that you want, and they're the new modern type of fullback that, you know, as going back to no one wants to go be a Gary Neville. The Gary Neville type of fullbacks, or Steve Finnan type of fullbacks, you don't see them enough now. But the lads now are leading by example as to you play a game like them, you go about it, you know. And centre back again, Van Dijk, what a player. I mean, and it'll be interesting to see how he does come back from injury.
Yeah.
It might take a bit of time, a bit out, no doubt about it, it's expected. But him not going to the Euros, I think, is crucial for Liverpool this summer. Recovery, stay back, get the job done, and come back next season. And it sums up with Come As You Like, doesn't it, in the song we sing about him, Come As You Like, Virgil van Dijk, because that's what he is. He's just so calm, presence. Unbelievable player, technically. And then Marquinhos, and then the three lads in midfield, can't argue. Look, it's always going to be controversial and people have different opinions and debates, but at the end of the day, you've only 11 players to pick from. You've picked them because it's who you want to go and see. You want to see creativity, you want to see flair, you want to see goals. And it's all well and good, like having a defensive midfielder, but you're not really thinking that, hey, we'll grab a 1-0 here. Or,
exactly,
you know, maybe
dream team stuff, Give me two holding midfielders there, players, and a defensive back four. No, you're all right. Give me an attacking defense, an attacking midfield, and an attacking front line.
And let's see how they all play together.
Yeah, exactly.
Keith, I don't delay too much. I have a busy day ahead of you. Sun's out, guns out today in Dublin.
This is it.
We can't wait now. Tomorrow, reportedly the hottest day of the year. So thanks for coming on. A pleasure. And thanks to everyone at the LFC Daytrippers, and keep up the great work, Keith. Is there anything else you want to say? Or?
No, look, Darren, thanks very much for having me. It's great to see you doing this yourself as well.
Cheers, pal.
It's going well. I've seen a few of the shows. I'm really a big fan of it. And like I said, we've had you on the Daytrippers before. We know what you're about, and really think this is a great thing that you're doing. So best of luck with it going forward. If you ever need anything again, just give us a shout. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, you've been support yourself and Johnny, and even Gav. It got on to me when it happened through a text. So much appreciate the support, feel the love. Great way of obviously engaging and giving your views and opinions, and that's all it's about, you know. And look, we're no experts. I'm no expert, but I'm certainly open to hearing different people's views and opinions as well. And long may it continue, and onwards and upwards now, you know. Indeed. But Keith, it's a pleasure. Thanks, buddy. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thanks to everybody that's tuned in or that does later on. And remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks us all, and as well over to the LFC Daytrippers to give them subscribe if you already haven't. And you're on tomorrow night, is it, Keith?
Yeah, Sunday we do our Fatback 4 on Sunday night. It's our myself, Grizz, Shawnee, and Gav do it every Sunday. I think Shawnee is unavailable this week, but I don't know who'll be on. But it's just a Sunday night show we do where we round up everything. Really good. And then there's other shows through the week. But yeah, if anyone that doesn't subscribe or watch, give it a go tomorrow, watch it back and see what you think. And you never know, you might like it. You might like what we do. You might not for everyone, but however, get in and give it a comment whether you agree or disagree. And the lads will answer. Right, Keith, thanks for getting on, buddy. All the best. Take care. Pleasure, Darren. Thank you very much.
Right.